You find a letter on your car filled with deep, familiar emotions and words of love, loss, and regret. But who left it? As you dive into the past, old flames and forgotten memories resurface, pulling you into a tangled web of secrets and unspoken feelings. Faces you thought were gone reappear, and each clue leads you closer to answers, or maybe just more questions. What if this letter is the key to everything you've been avoiding? And what if it changes everything? I slid into the driver's seat of my car, the familiar scent of aged leather and faint traces of paint lingering in the air. It was just another ordinary day in Denver, the sun shining brightly and the world bustling around me. But as I reached for the ignition, something caught my eye. A delicate piece of paper tucked neatly under the windshield wiper. My heart raced as I pulled it free, a rush of curiosity flooding my veins. As I unfolded the note, the neat cursive letters seemed to dance before my eyes, each word pulling me in deeper. "Dear you," it began. "I've always believed that our paths would cross again." My breath caught in my throat. I could feel the weight of emotions behind those words, a bittersweet nostalgia that gripped my heart. Who had written this? And why did it feel so achingly familiar? I leaned back in my seat, letting the warm afternoon light wash over me as I continued to read. The letter unfolded a story of lost love, unspoken words, and missed chances, weaving a tapestry of feelings that felt oddly like my own. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was meant for me, or perhaps it was a reflection of what I had long buried deep within. "You were the light in my darkest moments," it continued. "I never had the courage to tell you, but I hope you know what you mean to me." My heart ached as I remembered the faces of those I had loved and lost, each memory a brushstroke on the canvas of my life. I sat there, the engine of my car humming softly, but my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. This letter was a call to action, urging me to delve into the past I thought I had left behind. Who was the author? Did they still care? The uncertainty gnawed at me, compelling me to seek answers. With a deep breath, I folded the note and tucked it in my pocket, my heart pounding with the thrill of the unknown. Later that day, I found myself wandering through the art district, the vibrant colors of the murals and the hum of creativity enveloping me. As I walked aimlessly, my thoughts drifted back to the letter. I felt a mix of nostalgia and fear as I thought about the relationships and connections I had once cherished. What had happened to us? Why did I let go? Suddenly, there he was, Lucas, standing across the gallery, his presence as striking as ever. My heart skipped a beat at the sight of him. We had shared a connection that felt electric, but time and unspoken words had woven a web of tension between us. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, the world around us faded. It was as if the air crackled with unvoiced emotions, memories swirling like paint on a canvas. "Sarah," he said, his voice low, laced with surprise and something else. "Hope, perhaps?" "It's been a while." "It has," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I felt the weight of everything left unsaid between us, the ghosts of our past lingering in the space that separated us. He took a tentative step closer, and I could see the flicker of old feelings in his eyes. "I heard about your recent exhibit. I wanted to come, but, I prompted, my heart racing. "I just wasn't sure if you wanted to see me again," he admitted, the vulnerability in his tone pulling at my heartstrings. I remembered the laughter, the moments we shared, and the sudden silence that had fallen between us. "Lucas, Before I could finish, he continued, "I found something the other day. A letter. It was strange, really. It spoke about feelings I thought I had buried long ago." My stomach dropped, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Could it be the same letter? Was it possible our paths were intertwining again, like threads of a tapestry yet to be woven? I think we need to talk," I said, my voice steadying as determination replaced my earlier trepidation. "Yeah," he replied, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Let's talk." As we stood there, surrounded by the vivid colors of art and the echoes of our shared history, I felt a spark of possibility igniting within me. Perhaps this was the moment to confront my past, to explore the emotions I had tucked away for far too long. The journey ahead may be uncertain, but one thing was clear. I was ready to face whatever came next. As I stood there, surrounded by the vibrant colors and intriguing shapes of the art exhibition, my heart raced. Lucas was just a few feet away, his presence both familiar and electrifying. We locked eyes, and for a moment, the world around us faded. Memories of our past flooded my mind, the laughter we shared, the moments of silence that spoke volumes, and the unresolved tension that had lingered like a ghost between us. "Hey, do you remember that time we got lost trying to find that gallery on Colfax?" Lucas said, breaking the spell. His smile was warm, but there was a hint of something deeper behind it, something unresolved. "Of course," I replied, forcing a laugh. "You insisted we could find it without a map, and we ended up at that weird antique store instead." I tried to keep my tone light, but the weight of our past was heavy in the air. As we walked deeper into the exhibition, Lucas casually mentioned the letter. "You know, I found something interesting the other day. A letter, similar to the one you found, but I have no idea who wrote it." My heart skipped a beat at his words. "Really? You found a letter?" I felt my cheeks heat up, curiosity and anxiety swirling within me. "What did it say?" "Just longing, I guess. It reminded me of things I used to feel. Things I still feel," he said, his voice trailing off. He looked away, lost in thought, and I was struck by the realization that he might also be grappling with his own unresolved feelings. Could it be a coincidence? I ventured, my mind racing with the possibilities. "Do you think it's connected to ours?" "Maybe," he replied, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. "It feels like there's more to it, doesn't it?" I nodded, feeling the weight of our shared history pressing down on us. I can't shake the feeling that this is pushing me to revisit everything. My past, my choices, everything, I admitted, surprised by my own honesty. "Sarah, sometimes the past has a way of catching up with us," Lucas said, his eyes searching mine. "But it doesn't mean we can't make sense of it or even find something new within it." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of nostalgia and fear. "I've been thinking a lot about those times, Lucas. About us. And it scares me. What if I'm just chasing shadows?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "What if those shadows are what we need to confront? What if there's something beautiful waiting for us on the other side?" His words lingered in the air, igniting a spark of hope amidst my uncertainty. "I don't know," I confessed, biting my lip. "I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I want to explore new things, but the past keeps pulling me back." "Maybe you should talk to Anna," he suggested, his tone shifting to something more serious. "She knows you better than anyone. She might help you sort through this chaos." I sighed, remembering how Anna had always been my anchor. "You're right, she's always been there for me. But what if I don't like what I find?" "Then you face it together. That's what friends are for," he said, his voice steady, reassuring. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, startling me. It was Anna, and I felt an instant urge to share my thoughts with her. "I think I will talk to her," I said, feeling a sense of determination rising within me. "Good," Lucas replied, a smile creeping onto his face. "You deserve to find clarity. You've always been more than what you think you are." We shared a moment of silence, the weight of our conversation settling between us. I felt a strange sense of comfort in his presence, but the nagging doubts remained. But what if that letter is just a distraction? I mused aloud. What if it's just a way to avoid dealing with the present? "Then you'll know," Lucas said softly. "You're strong, Sarah. You'll figure it out." I looked at him, his sincerity washing over me like a warm tide. "Thanks, Lucas. I really needed to hear that." "You're welcome," he replied, his gaze steady. "Just remember, whatever you decide, I'm here. We both are." With that, we continued to wander through the exhibition, each piece of art whispering secrets of its own, much like our lives. My heart was still heavy with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the journey to rediscover myself and confront my past was just beginning. And maybe, just maybe, it would lead me to unexpected places. As rain drizzled down outside, creating a soft rhythm against the window, I sat in a small cafe, my fingers wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, the steam rising to my face like a comforting embrace. My mind, however, was far from tranquil. The letter that had ignited a spark of curiosity and nostalgia still lingered in my thoughts, intertwining with the memories of my past. I remembered how the ink on that page had felt like a whisper from someone I once knew, or perhaps someone I wished I had known better. I had arranged to meet with an old friend of my brother, someone who might hold the keys to the mystery of the letter. As I waited, I fidgeted with the napkin on the table, my heart racing at the thought of what I might find out. The door swung open, and a gust of cold air rushed into the cafe, followed by a familiar face. "Sarah," he called out, his voice warm and inviting. It was Tom, my brother's friend, with his tousled hair and a smile that could light up the room. He slid into the seat across from me. "Long time no see? How have you been?" "Busy," I replied, trying to mask my nerves with a casual smile. "Art shows, trying to find my footing in the world. You know how it is." Tom nodded, his expression shifting to something more serious. "I heard about your brother. I'm really sorry, Sarah. He was one of the good ones." "Thank you," I said softly, feeling a weight settle in my chest. "It's been hard, but I'm managing." He leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "So what's got you searching for answers? You mentioned wanting to talk about something important." I took a deep breath, my hands tightening around the coffee cup. "I found a letter. It was left for me under my windshield wiper. It's complicated." "A letter? What did it say?" Tom's interest piqued, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. "It spoke about love and lost chances. It felt personal, but I don't know who it's from," I admitted, feeling vulnerable. "I thought maybe you might know something about it. It mentioned an old flame, someone who had unspoken feelings." Tom's brow furrowed as he processed my words. "It sounds like it could be Ben. He had a crush on you back in high school. He never had the guts to say anything, though." "Ben?" I echoed, surprised. I didn't know he felt that way. We were just friends. "Yeah. Well, he was never good at expressing himself," Tom explained. "He always kept those feelings locked away. I think he wrote a letter once but never sent it." "Do you think he would still feel the same way?" I asked, my heart racing at the prospect. "Honestly, I think he might. He's always been a romantic at heart. That kind of stuff sticks with you," Tom replied, his tone serious. "But Sarah, you need to be careful. If you're diving back into old feelings, make sure you know what you want." I nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I've been talking to Lucas too. It's all so confusing." "Lucas? The artist?" Tom raised an eyebrow, his interest shifting. "I remember you two had something going on. What's the deal with him?" "He's complicated," I said, running a hand through my hair in frustration. "There's a lot of unresolved tension between us. I can't help but wonder if this letter is some sort of sign. Or a distraction?" Tom suggested, a knowing look on his face. "You need to figure out what you really want. Do you want to explore the past with Ben, or are you looking for closure with Lucas?" As Tom spoke, I felt the weight of his words settle heavily on my shoulders. My emotions were a tangled web, pulling me in different directions. "I'm not sure I'm ready to choose. I just want to understand." Tom sighed, a hint of sympathy in his gaze. "Understanding is the first step, but don't forget to take care of yourself in the process." I appreciated his support, but the weight of my indecision loomed larger. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, and in walked a new colleague of mine, Jake. He glanced around, and our eyes met. A warm smile spread across his face as he made his way over to our table. "Hey Sarah, fancy seeing you here," he said, his enthusiasm brightening the mood. "Hey Jake. Just catching up with Tom," I replied, a flutter of nerves dancing in my stomach. "Mind if I join?" he asked, his gaze shifting between Tom and me. "Sure, the more the merrier," I said, forcing a smile. As Jake settled into the conversation, I felt an unexpected tension brewing within me. Here I was, surrounded by two men who represented different paths in my life, and I was still struggling to understand my own heart. The weight of the letter, the memories of Lucas, and the unexpected warmth from Jake created a storm of emotions inside me, and I didn't know how to navigate the chaos. It was a chilly evening in Denver, and the city was bathed in a golden hue as the sun dipped below the horizon. I sat across from Anna in our favorite cafe, the familiar aroma of roasted coffee beans mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. I stirred my drink absent-mindedly, the swirling liquid reflecting the chaos in my mind. The letter still weighed heavily on my heart, its words echoing in my thoughts. "I can't shake this feeling, Anna," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. "The letter, it's like a ghost from the past, haunting me." Anna leaned in, her eyes filled with concern. "You need to confront it, Sarah. What are you really afraid of?" I sighed, rubbing my temples in frustration. "I'm scared, okay? Scared of opening up old wounds and facing the choices I made. What if that letter leads me to something I can't handle? Or what if it leads you to something beautiful? She countered, her tone encouraging. You've always said that art is your way of expressing your deepest emotions. Maybe this is your chance to do just that. I looked at her, her words resonating deep within me. You're right, I've used my art as a refuge, but maybe it's time to embrace the messiness of my feelings instead of hiding from them. Exactly. Anna smiled, her enthusiasm contagious. You're not alone in this. You have me, and you have your art. Just think of it as a new canvas waiting for your brush. I took a deep breath, the warmth of her support wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. Okay, I'll try to explore this more, but where do I even begin? Start by revisiting the places that hold memories for you, Anna suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Go to the gallery where you and Lucas first met, or the park where you shared that beautiful day with your brother. You might uncover something important. I nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. I'll do it. I need to understand this connection, and maybe find out who wrote that letter. Later that week, I found myself standing in front of the gallery, the vibrant colors of the paintings seeming to call out to me. As I stepped inside, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. I could still picture Lucas's smile, the way his eyes sparkled with passion for art. But now those memories felt tinged with uncertainty. Sarah? A voice broke through my reverie. I turned to see Mark, my brother's old friend, approaching me. It's been ages. How have you been? Mark, wow, it's good to see you. I managed to smile, grateful for the distraction. I've been navigating some old memories, I guess. He raised an eyebrow, curiosity evident. Old memories? Like what? I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the letter without sounding completely ridiculous. I found this letter recently, and it's made me reconsider a lot of things. I think it's tied to my past, and I'm trying to figure out who wrote it. Interesting, he said, his tone shifting to one of intrigue. You know, your brother used to talk about a girl named Ben back in the day. He had a crush on her, but never had the guts to say anything. Maybe she's connected to your letter. Ben? The name struck a chord deep within me. Do you think he could have written it? Possibly, Mark replied, scratching his chin thoughtfully. He was always a bit of a romantic, but he never acted on his feelings. You might want to reach out to him. I felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with fear. I'll consider it. Thanks, Mark. It's good to know I'm not alone in this. As I left the gallery, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the brink of something significant. The pieces of my past were starting to align, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead was daunting. That evening, I returned home, my mind racing. I rummaged through my brother's old things, searching for clues about Ben. After a few minutes of searching, my fingers brushed against something cool and leather-bound. I pulled out an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. Curiosity piqued, I opened it carefully. The first entry caught my eye. Today, I met Ben. There's something about him that feels different. I can't help but wonder if he's the one. My heart raced as I flipped through more pages, each entry revealing a glimpse into their friendship. There were mentions of laughter, shared dreams, and hints of a love that never blossomed. I felt a pang of regret for the connection that never was. Ben, I whispered to myself, the name hanging in the air. Could you be the key to everything? With each revelation, I felt a spark of hope igniting within me. Perhaps this journey would lead me to not just the truth about the letter, but also to a deeper understanding of myself and the relationships that shaped my life. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the Denver skyline, I found myself standing in front of a quaint little coffee shop that my brother often frequented. The scent of roasted beans wafted through the air, drawing me in. I was there to meet Ben, a name that had been a mere whisper in my past until now. I took a deep breath, my heart racing with anticipation and a hint of anxiety. When I stepped inside, I spotted him immediately. A tall figure with tousled dark hair and a warm smile that seemed to light up the room. He was leaning against the counter, his eyes scanning the small crowd before they landed on me. Sarah? He called out, his voice smooth and inviting. Ben, I replied, feeling a nervous flutter in my stomach as I approached him. We exchanged a brief hug, and I felt an unexpected spark, a connection that took me by surprise. Thanks for coming, he said, gesturing towards a small table tucked away in a corner. "I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time." As we settled into our seats, I noticed the way his hands fidgeted slightly, betraying the calm facade he was trying to maintain. "I know this is all a bit sudden," he began, "but I think it's important that you understand the context of the letter you found." My heart raced at the mention of the letter. "You mean the one from the windshield?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Exactly," he said, leaning in closer. "That letter was written for you. I wrote it, or at least I was the one who inspired it." "Wait, what?" I blinked, trying to process his words. "You wrote it?" "No, not exactly," he replied, his brow furrowed. "It was my way of expressing feelings I never had the courage to share. I've been in love with you for a long time, Sarah, but I never told you. Instead, I confided in Lucas, and he wrote that letter to you on my behalf." I felt a wave of emotions crash over me, confusion, nostalgia, and a flicker of something deeper. "Why didn't you just tell me yourself?" Ben sighed, looking down at his coffee cup. "I was scared of ruining our friendship, scared of what you would think. But the truth is, I've always admired you. Your art, your spirit, everything about you captivated me." I leaned back in my chair, trying to absorb his confession. I had no idea. "All this time, I thought you were just a friend." He chuckled lightly, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "That's the thing about feelings, isn't it? They can be buried so deep that we convince ourselves they don't exist. I thought I could move on, but every time I saw you, it was like reopening a wound." "Why now?" I asked, the weight of his words pressing down on me. "Why bring this up now?" "Because I realized that I can't keep hiding," he admitted, his voice earnest. "I saw that letter. You've been searching for something, and I think it's important for you to know that there are people who care about you. I wanted to give you closure, even if it meant exposing my own heart." I could feel tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "This is so overwhelming," I confessed. "I've been on this journey, trying to piece together my past, and now this?" He reached across the table, his hand brushing against mine. "I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. I just wanted you to know the truth, and I hope that, in some way, it helps you find what you're looking for." I nodded slowly, my mind racing. "It's just, I've been so caught up in my own insecurities and trying to figure out my feelings for Lucas, and now there's this new layer with you." Ben smiled softly, his eyes filled with understanding. "I get it. Life is complicated, but maybe that's what makes it beautiful. Just remember, you don't have to choose between us based on what's comfortable. Follow your heart, wherever it leads you." His words resonated deep within me, a comforting balm over my tangled emotions. "Thank you for being honest with me," I said, squeezing his hand gently. "It means a lot." As we sat there, the world around us faded away, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos of my heart. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden hue over the streets of Denver as I met Lucas for our art walk. My heart raced with anticipation, a mix of excitement and nerves bubbling beneath the surface. We hadn't seen each other since that intense encounter at the gallery, and the unresolved tension between us felt like a living thing pulsating in the air. "Hey, Sarah," Lucas greeted me with a smile that both warmed and unsettled me. "Ready to explore?" "Yeah, I think so," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. He looked effortlessly charming, his hair slightly tousled by the breeze, and I couldn't help but wonder how I'd let so much time slip by without really thinking about what was between us. As we walked side by side, the city buzzed around us, people laughing, the distant sounds of music, the scent of street food wafting through the air. I felt a sense of nostalgia wash over me, reminding me of the countless hours Lucas and I had spent wandering art galleries and discussing life, love, and everything in between. "Do you remember that little cafe we used to go to?" Lucas asked, breaking the comfortable silence. "The one with the mismatched furniture and the best lattes?" I chuckled softly, the memory igniting a warmth in my chest. How could I forget? I think we spent more time there than anywhere else. It was like our little hideaway. "Yeah, it was," he said, a hint of wistfulness in his voice. "I miss those days. Everything felt so simple." "Simple but complicated too," I replied, glancing sideways at him. "We had our fair share of drama." Lucas stopped walking and turned to face me. his expression serious. I know things got messy between us. I've thought about it a lot lately, about how we left things. My heart skipped a beat. Me too. It's hard to forget when you're constantly reminded of the past. I hesitated, feeling vulnerable. I found that letter, the one that started all of this. He raised an eyebrow, curiosity flickering in his eyes. What did it say? It spoke of lost love and missed opportunities, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. It made me think about everything we went through and how maybe we never really resolved anything. Lucas took a step closer, the intensity in his gaze making my pulse quicken. Do you think we can? Resolve it, I mean? I don't know, I admitted, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. I've been afraid to confront it, to confront us. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I get it, but maybe we could try, just to see where we stand. With his words hanging in the air, I felt a flicker of hope mixed with fear. The connection was undeniable, it always had been, but I still felt tethered to my past, and the uncertainty of what opening my heart again would mean. Let's just enjoy the moment for now, I said, attempting to steer the conversation away from the heaviness. What art pieces are we going to see first? Lucas smiled, the tension easing slightly. There's an installation nearby that's supposed to be incredible. I think you'll love it. It's all about transformation and new beginnings. Sounds perfect, I replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. As we continued walking, I found myself relaxing, allowing laughter to bubble up as we exchanged stories and opinions about the art we encountered. Each piece sparked deep conversations, and I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crack. This is nice, I said, looking up at him as we paused in front of a vibrant mural. I forgot how much I missed this. Me too, Lucas said, his eyes reflecting sincerity. You have this way of seeing the world that's really inspiring. It makes me want to see things differently. I blushed at his compliment, feeling a warmth spread through me. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. As we moved on to the next exhibit, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, this walk was more than just an exploration of art. It felt like a journey into the depths of our shared past, and I was on the precipice of something new, something that could lead to healing and understanding. But as the evening wore on, a nagging doubt lingered in the back of my mind. What if I was not ready for what lay ahead? I pushed those thoughts away as we stepped into the next gallery, letting the art wash over me like a tidal wave, hoping it would drown out the conflicting emotions swirling in my heart. As I stood in my small apartment, the familiar scent of paint and canvas hung in the air, mingling with the anxiety that wrapped around my chest like a tight band. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was at a crossroads, one that demanded a decision I wasn't ready to make. The memories of Lucas swirled in my mind like colors on a palette, vibrant yet chaotic. Just then, my doorbell rang, a jarring sound that pulled me from my thoughts. I opened the door to find Lucas standing there, his expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Hey Sarah," he said softly, his eyes searching mine. "Can we talk?" Yeah. "Of course," I replied, stepping aside to let him in. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air thickened with unspoken words. I gestured toward the small couch, and we both sat down, the distance between us seeming both comforting and painfully far. "I've been thinking a lot about everything," Lucas began, his hands fidgeting in his lap. "About us, about the past." He looked up, meeting my gaze, and I could see the weight of his emotions reflected in his eyes. "I know we've had our issues, but I want to understand where we stand now." My heart raced as I considered his words. "I've been thinking too," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. The letter, it brought back so many memories. It's like I've been living in a fog, and now everything is so clear, yet so confusing. Lucas leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I don't want to complicate things for you. I need to know if there's still something between us." His vulnerability struck a chord deep within me, and I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to tremble. "I don't know," I confessed, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "I've been trying to move on, to explore new possibilities with Jake. But then there's you, and it's like nothing ever really changed." I could feel the conflict brewing inside me, a tempest of emotions that threatened to spill over. "Jake?" Lucas frowned slightly, his brow furrowing. I get that you're trying to find someone new, but what about us? What we had was real, wasn't it? Of course it was real, Lucas, I exclaimed, the frustration bubbling to the surface. But it was complicated. We had our moments, but we also hurt each other. I don't want to go back to that pain. I don't want to go back either. Instead, he replied, his voice steady. But I want to know if we can move forward. I've made my share of mistakes and I regret how things ended between us. I just thought... He hesitated, searching for the right words. I thought maybe we could try again. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air. It's not that simple, I said, my voice trembling. There's so much history, so many unresolved feelings. I don't want to jump back into something without knowing if it's what I really want. Lucas took a deep breath, his gaze unwavering. Then let's take our time. We don't have to rush into anything. But I need you to know that I still care about you, more than I've ever let on. His honesty stirred something deep within me, a flicker of hope mingling with the uncertainty. I care about you too, Lucas, but I'm scared. Scared of getting hurt again, scared of what it means to open my heart to you, or even to anyone. Sarah, he said gently, leaning closer. You deserve to be happy, whether it's with me or someone else. Just don't shut me out completely. I want to be in your life, no matter how that looks. In that moment, the walls I had built began to crack. I could see the sincerity in his eyes, the longing for connection that mirrored my own. But as I stared into his gaze, I felt a rush of confusion. I was standing on the precipice of something monumental, but the fear of falling held me back. I don't know what the future holds, I said finally, my voice steadying. But I need time to figure things out. I can't promise anything right now. Take all the time you need, Lucas replied, a small smile breaking through his tense demeanor. I'll be here, waiting. As he left, I felt the weight of his words lingering in the air, a mixture of hope and apprehension. I was left alone with my thoughts, grappling with the realization that my heart was caught in a delicate dance between the past and the present, and the decisions ahead were mine to make. As I sat across from Jake at the quaint little bistro, the warm glow of the candles flickering between us felt almost too bright. I forced a smile, trying to shake off the lingering thoughts of Lucas that clung to my mind like a persistent shadow. Jake was charming and attentive, his laughter infectious, yet I couldn't help but feel a dissonance within me. So, what's been inspiring your art these days? Jake asked, leaning forward, genuinely interested. His green eyes sparkled with curiosity, and for a moment I was captivated. Honestly, I hesitated, searching for the right words. It's been complicated. I've been revisiting a lot of past emotions. I found this letter recently that stirred up a lot of feelings. A letter? He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Sounds mysterious. What did it say? I sighed, biting my lip. It's hard to explain. It was filled with longing and regrets, but it also made me think about what I really want and who I want to be with. Jake nodded, a hint of concern crossing his face. Sounds like it's weighing on you. You don't have to share if you're not ready, he said gently. No, I want to, I replied, feeling the weight of my honesty. It's just that I've been caught between my past and what could be my future. There's someone I can't seem to shake off. Is it someone you're still involved with? He asked carefully, his tone shifting slightly. No, not exactly, I admitted, feeling a pang in my chest. But he's always been there, you know? A part of me feels drawn to him, and it makes this whole thing with you complicated. I watched as Jake's expression shifted, and I felt a rush of guilt wash over me. I'm sorry, Jake, I didn't mean to make this awkward. He leaned back, taking a deep breath. It's okay. I just want to make sure you're okay, Sarah. It's clear you're dealing with a lot. Thank you for understanding, I said softly, feeling a warmth in his words. But even as we continued to chat about lighter topics, my mind kept drifting back to Lucas. His smile, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about art, and the unspoken words that lingered between us like a taut string, ready to snap. As the evening wore on, I tried to focus on Jake, but the tension in my chest grew heavier. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pang of regret. Was I being fair to him? To myself? Just as I was about to voice my concerns, Jake reached across the table, his hand brushing against mine. Hey, I can see you're somewhere else right now. What's going on? His touch sent a bolt of awareness through me, and I hesitated, torn between the comfort of the present and the haunting echoes of the past. I'm just confused, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. I care about you, Jake, but I can't seem to fully engage. I get it, he said, his expression softening. I don't want to pressure you into anything. Just know that I'm here, and I'm willing to wait until you figure things out. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, and I looked away, swallowing the lump in my throat. I don't want to hurt you. You deserve someone who can be all in, not someone weighed down by memories. Maybe those memories are part of what makes you who you are, he countered, squeezing my hand gently. You're allowed to take your time, just don't shut me out completely. His words resonated within me, and for a moment I felt a flicker of hope that maybe I could navigate this tumultuous sea of emotions. But just as quickly, the weight of my unresolved feelings for Lucas crashed over me again, suffocating that spark. As we left the bistro, the cool night air hit my face, refreshing yet jarring. I tried to shake off the lingering thoughts of Lucas, but they clung to me like a stubborn ghost. Do you want to grab some ice cream? Jake suggested, breaking my reverie. I know a great little place nearby. Sure, I replied, though my heart wasn't in it. As we walked side by side, I felt the distance between us grow. I wanted to lose myself in the sweetness of the moment, but the whispers of my past kept calling me back. Then, as we neared the ice cream shop, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from Lucas. My heart raced, and I looked at Jake, feeling the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. I was caught in a whirlwind, and I didn't know which way to turn. I slid into the cozy cafe, the scent of freshly brewed coffee wrapping around me like a warm embrace. My heart raced as I spotted Lucas at a corner table, his gaze fixed on the window, lost in thought. The moment I stepped closer, he turned his head and our eyes locked. A rush of memories flooded my mind, our laughter, our arguments, and the weight of unspoken words that had lingered between us for far too long. Hey, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, a flicker of a smile playing on his lips, but I could see the tension etched on his face. Thanks for coming, he replied, gesturing for me to sit. I slid into the chair opposite him. The familiar warmth of his presence mixed with an unsettling tension that seemed to fill the space between us. I wasn't sure if I should. You said you wanted to talk about the letter, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Lucas leaned forward, elbows resting on the table, his expression serious. Yeah, about that. I wrote a response to it, but I never sent it. I blinked, the weight of his confession hitting me hard. You wrote a response? Why didn't you send it? He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I remembered all too well. I was scared of what it meant, scared of what I'd have to confront. The feelings I had, they were overwhelming. Overwhelming how? I asked, my heart pounding as I leaned in, desperate to understand. Because it wasn't just about the letter. It was about everything. Us, the past, the mistakes I made, he replied, his gaze dropping to the table. When I wrote that response, it was like I was finally acknowledging how much I cared, how much I still care. But then I stopped myself. I thought maybe it was better to leave things unsaid. A silence fell between us, thick and heavy. I could feel my own emotions stirring, as if a dam inside me was on the verge of breaking. What did you write? I finally asked, my voice trembling slightly. He hesitated, his eyes searching mine as if weighing the gravity of his next words. I told her that I'd always been afraid to admit how I felt, that I was haunted by the possibility of losing her, and that maybe that fear stopped me from ever really trying. Lucas, I whispered, the intensity of his words wrapping around my heart. Who were you writing to? It wasn't just anyone, he said, his voice low. Sarah, it was for you. I was scared of admitting that Ben wrote that letter, scared of what it would mean for us. When you found it, it felt like everything came rushing back. My breath hitched in my throat. Ben? The letter was from him? Lucas nodded, his eyes darkening with the weight of the revelation. He was in love with you, but he never had the courage to tell you, and when he found a way to express it, I guess I was just too caught up in my own fears to see it for what it was. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the picture they formed was more complicated than I had anticipated. So you knew? All this time? I had my suspicions. And when I saw the letter, it confirmed everything I feared, he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't want to lose you to him, but I also didn't want to hurt you by dragging you into my mess. Lucas, this is so much to process, I said, feeling the weight of the moment settling on my shoulders. You wrote a letter to me, but you also kept your feelings for me buried under all this confusion. I know, and I'm sorry, he said, his tone sincere. But I had to tell you, I needed you to know how I felt, even if it's complicated. I looked at him, my heart racing as I grappled with the truth. The confession hung in the air, heavy with all the unresolved emotions that had built up over the years. And what about now? What does this mean for us? Lucas leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, but I want to find out. I want to face the past with you, whatever that looks like. As I searched his eyes, I saw a vulnerability that mirrored my own. The truth was out, and the weight of it felt both liberating and terrifying. But one thing was clear. The path ahead was uncertain, and yet it was the only one I wanted to explore. As I sat on the edge of my bed, the weight of Lucas's revelation lingered in the air like a dense fog. My heart raced, caught in a tempest of emotions. I felt torn between the past and what lay ahead, each side pulling at me with equal force. What do I even want? I murmured to myself, staring blankly at the canvas propped against the wall, its colors a chaotic mess, much like my thoughts. I picked up my phone, contemplating whether to text Anna. She always had a way of grounding me, offering wisdom when I felt lost. I hesitated for a moment, then tapped out a message. Can we talk? I need your help. Almost instantly, my phone buzzed with her reply. Of course, meet me at our favorite cafe in an hour. When I arrived at the cafe, the familiar scent of roasted coffee beans enveloped me, wrapping me in a comforting embrace. Anna was already seated at our usual table, a steaming mug cradled in her hands. She looked up, her eyes brightening. Hey, you look like you've been through a whirlwind. I took a deep breath, sliding into the chair across from her. You could say that. I don't know how to deal with everything that's happening. Anna leaned in, concern etched on her face. Start from the beginning. What did Lucas say? I recounted the conversation, the revelation about Ben, and the swirling confusion that followed. As I spoke, I could see Anna processing my words, her expression shifting from concern to understanding. So, you're feeling like you're caught in this web of emotions. Lucas, Ben, and Jake, she summarized, her brow furrowing slightly. What do you truly want, Sarah? I hesitated, the question echoing in my mind. I want to be free of this fear of commitment, but at the same time, I don't want to hurt anyone. It's just so complicated. Anna took a sip of her coffee, contemplating. You know, love isn't black and white. It's all those shades in between, just like your art. You've always expressed your emotions through your paintings. Maybe it's time to embrace that complexity in your life too. Her words struck a chord. I thought about my art, how each stroke of the brush told a story, layered with depth and nuance. You're right. I've been so focused on choosing one path that I forgot I could blend them. Each person has given me something unique. Exactly. You don't have to close a door just because another one is opening, Anna encouraged, her tone reassuring. You can find a way to keep them all in your life, building a support system of love and friendship. I felt a surge of clarity washing over me. So, I can reconcile with Lucas and explore things with Jake and still cherish the memories with Ben? I asked, the pieces slowly falling into place. Anna nodded enthusiastically. Yes, love is multifaceted. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about recognizing what each relationship brings to your life. As I absorbed her words, I realized that my fear of commitment stemmed from a misunderstanding of love itself. It wasn't about possession or exclusivity, it was about connection and support. I want to embrace all forms of love, I said, my voice gaining strength. I want to be open to whatever comes next. Anna smiled, her eyes twinkling with pride. That's the spirit. Now, what are you going to do about it? I took a moment to gather my thoughts, feeling a newfound resolve. I need to talk to Lucas first. I owe it to him and to myself to explore those feelings. Then, I'll reach out to Jake and see where that leads. Just as I was about to get up, my phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. Can we meet again? I think we need to talk more about the letter. My heart fluttered with mixed emotions. This was my moment to face the past and step boldly into a future that felt uncertain, yet exhilarating. I grabbed my jacket, determination flooding my veins. "Let's do this," I said to Anna. "I'm ready to embrace this complexity. No more running away." With that, I walked out of the cafe, my heart lighter and more open than it had been in a long time. I wasn't just stepping forward for myself. I was doing it for all of us, Lucas, Ben, Jake, and most importantly, for the artist within me who deserved to paint her own story without fear. If you enjoyed this story, imagine what happened when David found that diary full of secrets and got tangled up in Sarah's life, a total stranger. Want to know how he ended up on this unexpected journey full of twists and revelations? Click on the video popping up on your screen now and find out.